I am requesting everyone in the audience, please turn off your electronic devices or put them on vibrate. Later in the meeting, up to 30 minutes will be provided for individuals to address the board on matters concerning the operation of the Marion County School System or the school board only. Presentations to the board are limited to 5 minutes and are televised. If you wish to address the board regarding a regular agenda item or matters on which the board customarily takes action, you must first complete a peach form located on the front table. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing or a student discipline matter, please complete a lime green form. These forms must be fully completed and received by the board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. The procedures applicable for each are on a separate sheet. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Mrs. Nancy Stacy, District 1. Here. Mr. Bobby James, District 3.
Here.
Miss Angie Boynton, District 4. Here. Miss Beth McCall, District 2. Here. Mrs. Kelly King, District 5.
Here.
Dr. Heidi Mayer, Superintendent.
Here.
Miss Suzanne Green, Interim Board Attorney.
Here.
Thank you. Miss Rebecca Cook, Mathematics and Science Program Specialist, please introduce the students who will be providing the inspiration and leading us in the pledge this evening.
We will begin with the pledge led by Westport High School's Maurice Gilberts.
All right, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Tonight's inspiration will be given by Vanguard High School's Tyler Lehman.
Hello, I'm Tyler Lehman, and I just wanted to say that I feel honored to represent Marion County in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics as our district's Sunshine State Scholar. And because it's May and the school season's winding down and the seniors are graduating, I just very briefly wanted to share a poem about transformation. The poem is titled A Kite for Eileen by Seamus Heaney. Air from another life and time and place. Pale blue heavenly air is supporting a white wing beating high against the breeze. And yes, it is a kite, as when one afternoon all of us there trooped out among the briar hedges and stripped thorn, I take my stand again, halt opposite Ann Horish Hill to scan the blue, back in that field to launch our long-tailed comet. And now it hovers, tugs, veers, dives askew, lifts itself, goes with the wind until it rises to loud cheers from us below, rises, and my hand is like a spindle unspooling. The kite is a thin-stemmed flower, climbing and carrying farther, higher. The longing in the breast and planted feet and gazing face and heart of the kite flyer until string breaks and, separate, elate, the kite takes off, itself alone, a windfall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Tonight we're going to recognize the Sunshine State Scholar nominees, Marion County Sunshine State Scholar and Marion County Sunshine State Scholar alternate. The Sunshine State Scholar program was initiated in 1998. This program is designed to recognize high school juniors who excel in mathematics and science. Earlier in the school year, each of our high schools were asked to nominate an outstanding junior in mathematics and science. Each nominee was required to complete an application package that included an essay. A district committee reviewed each application and selected one winner and one alternate to represent Marion County. The selection process involved judging the nominees, their academic achievement in mathematics and science, advanced coursework, community service, participation in STEM competitions, and their thoughtful response on the essay. Selecting one winner was extremely difficult with the outstanding quality of all the nominees. On May 19th through the 20th, Marion County's winner will be joining other district scholars from across the state as they are recognized for their outstanding achievements at the Florida Department of Education-sponsored recognition banquet in Orlando. Each scholar is invited to bring their parents and a teacher who has had a significant influence on them to the recognition ceremony. At this time, I would like to recognize all of our school nominees for each high school. As I call your name, if you would please come up to the podium and stand in front of the school board members Facing the audience, we would like to recognize your achievements. From Bellevue High School is Luz Mata. Luz was unable to join us tonight. From Denellen High School is Trinity Acevedo. Trinity was also unable to join us tonight as she had another awards banquet at her high school. From Forest High School is Julian Gross. From Lake Ware High School is Raheel Eli. From Marion Technical Institute is Matthew Dupree. From North Marion High School is Elizabeth Kennard. From Vanguard High School and tonight's Marion County Sunshine State Scholar is Tyler Lehman. And from Westport High School is Marion County Sunshine State Scholar alternate Maurice Gilbert. A huge congratulations from Marion County to all of you for your hard work and achievement this far in your high school careers. We are looking forward to great accomplishments from every single one of you in your future and the future of our world. Congratulations.
All right, I was going to ask you guys. Thank you. Miss.
Congratulations. Thank you for your hard work. Parents, thank you for your hard work. I know that it's dedicated parents also play a role in this. Good luck to you and all that you endeavor, and we hope that after your college education, you will consider coming back to Marion County and making a career and a home here. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Guys, I'm just gonna say, do it again. No matter what we say or say here tonight, I want to congratulate you on what you're doing, and I'll say, do it again, because there's a lot more congratulations in your lifetime. So we're very proud of you, and I know the students at your school and the Marion County school system is as well. Good job. Job well done.
Thank you, all too.
And I would also like to congratulate you, and again, your parents and your teachers that got you this far. We all know, all of us board members sitting up here, we've all had children that went through the school system. And we have to get up every day and thank a teacher for where our children are today. And like Mr. James said, the type kids you are today, young adults, you are headed for grand adulthood. And we will be watching you, and please come back here and bring all your talents back here. When you go see the world and you go become famous, come back here with us, okay?
Be famous here.
Yeah, come back here.
Yes, be famous here. Congratulations and best wishes. And I just also want to notice that the ties and the jackets, and you guys are dressed very nicely today. And I know some of us you guys are, I think Grandma's in here somewhere waiting for our next award. So we're going to let you guys go. But thank you for all your hard work and making your parents and community proud. So good luck. Okay, you guys can go. Great job. Dr. Mayer?
With exception of JD 17-111 under item 22.1, which has been withdrawn entirely from the agenda, I recommend approval of the agenda for the May 9th, 2017 school board meeting with the materials in the board packet, those materials distributed to board members at the meeting, and the audio recording included as part of the official record of the meeting.
May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCall and seconded by Mr. James. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and those that oppose, like sign. And the motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the April 6, 2017 administrative briefing and work session?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Mr. James, seconded by Ms. McCall. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and those that oppose, like sign. And the motion passed 5-0. I'm just assuming, Ms. Delorio, I'm going to invite you from the Public Education Foundation. Officer would like to recognize a new business partner for Evergreen Elementary School.
That is correct. Thank you, school board members and superintendent. And I know you're probably confused because usually Judy is here to do this, but unfortunately she couldn't be here this evening. So yes, tonight we are here to recognize yet another business partner, and I'm so very thrilled about this one because this one has been in the works for quite some time, since the early fall. And I know that many people in this room are going to be very familiar with the gentleman that represents this particular business partner, because he has been very instrumental and a part of the Marion County School Board family for a long time before he moved on. So tonight I'd like to call to the podium Mr. Scott Hackmeyer, who represents Kiwanis Club of Ocala. And I'd like to bring up the principal of Evergreen Elementary, Mr. Wayne Livingston. And the Kiwanis Club of Ocala will be Evergreen's brand new business partner. And I believe you guys have been very hard at work already trying to do some really unique things as partners. And I know you were at our business partner breakfast that we had back in February and shared a lot of interesting ideas with other business partners. So tonight I would like to recognize you both with your official plaques. And if you would like to say a few words to the board.
Love to. Thank
Okay,
you.
great.
Dr. Mayor and board members, representing Kiwanis Club of Ocala, we're really proud to be here. Kiwanis Club is a long-standing service club of which Mr. James is also a member. We have about 100 active members, and we focus on youth activities. We've been involved and pleased to be involved with Evergreen for a number of years through our Reading is Fundamental program, where we distribute books to every kindergarten through second grade student in the school, through the Bugs Bringing Up Grades program, the Terrific Kids program. But a few years back, when we heard that Mr. Livingston was being assigned as principal at Evergreen, we know that he is an outstanding principal, and we just wanted to get more involved. And that really was the birth of this partnership. We're excited. We hear good things about the direction of the superintendent and the board, what you have in the works for Evergreen, and we're just excited to be part of that and look forward to a very productive partnership. And the main thing is to assist the children and the staff and the teachers at that school. It's very exciting for Kiwanis Club. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Superintendent, Dr. Mayor, school board members. We are excited too at Evergreen Elementary School to have the Kiwanis Club as a business partner. Their focus is all about providing hope in the community. And at Evergreen Elementary School, our focus is hope as well. And the acronym for HOPE stands for helping other people every day, not hurting other people. And having a business partner such as the Kiwanis Club exemplifies just that. It's about helping other people every day. So I can't thank you enough for what you have done thus far. And so, coming out to the school, being a part of our award ceremony and our parent liaison programs and things of that nature. So we're just ecstatic about having the Kiwanis Club as a part of our family. And also like to thank other community members as well, who has been very helpful this year with us at Evergreen Elementary School. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wait, before you, Mr. Livingston and Mr. Hackmeyer, we would like to address you guys, please. Thank you. Mr. James.
Since I'm one of the boys. And when I say that, I'd like for the hands of the other Kiwanis members to raise their hand too. Because it was one of these things where you see a great project that you really want to get involved with. And we really, as a club, was spearheaded by Scott Hackmeyer. And Scott, I know you never want to receive credit for this, but tonight I'm pulling you out of the closet. It's one of those things that he brought to the Kiwanis Club to address the need that we had in the community. And it's one of these things where Kiwanis take working with kids very seriously in terms of our reading is fundamental, our time that we evaluate and work with kids, our camp that we have, and if you have not been involved with the Camp Kiwanis, that's part of what we do too. Tonight is just an extension of what we as a Kiwanis Club really is about. And I want to congratulate all of the members for really supporting it 100%, because this is a big deal for us to make sure that the students at Evergreen get the parental and the support that we need. Thank you, Jazz. Good job.
And I would like to say, Scott Hackmeyer, it's like you're always just lurking, looking for something else to do. And I've watched you for, 30 years now? And everything's been, was it East Marion where you were?
Howard, East Marion.
Yeah, I remember a long time ago at East Marion, because we were all talking about, I remember we were talking about the socioeconomic situation and everything, and they were, years ago, back in like 92, and they would try to sell me on low socioeconomic students couldn't perform. And I got to studying all the records and everything from the DOE, and I went, well, wait a minute. East Marion's low, very low socioeconomic. Who's that principal out there? Mr. Hackmeyer, And your school was low socioeconomic, but it was really, really excelling. And I remember that. I'll never forget it. And Mr. Livingston, principals come and go. At different schools, they travel around. And always, I hear the parents and the teachers and different ones, when you move, they really miss you. You're one of the very, very loved principals in this district. And thank you for your kindness and your love for children.
Ms. McCall.
I think this partnership is going to be marvelous for Evergreen Elementary. I think we're going to see it soar under your leadership, Mr. Livingston. And Mr. Hackmeyer, whatever you touch has the word success on it. So thank you, and to the Kiwanis Club of Ocala for undertaking this, because we are greatly, greatly appreciative of it. So thank you and good luck. Keep us posted.
We are. I gotta say something. Mr. Hackmeyer, you said something very important, and I understand that the monetary part is very important, but you mentioned that you have over 100 members that are willing to work with these students, and that's human capital, and there's no price for that. And I just appreciate that you said that. And Mr. Livingston, Miss Stacy is correct. Before I knew you, one of my first jobs, I was hearing about Mr. Livingston because you taught at Saddlewood right before I came there, and the teachers were talking about how much they loved you. And I would always just hear about how wonderful you are. But I've also seen you in action when I went to visit the school and watched you interact with students and the way you talk to them and you treat them. So you are the perfect example of hope. And thank you. Okay.
It's going to be a great partnership.
I can tell. Thank you.
And I hope you share your secrets with other business partners. You're
Yes.
going to be a leading example.
Thank you. Okay. The board recognizes that we have exceptional teachers in our district at every school. These teachers make a difference in the lives of our students every day, and at this time, I recognize Superintendent Mayer to make introductions to honor an exceptional teacher. They are leaders too.
She is. She is. We are so honored to have a teacher with us this evening who received a special recognition from Governor Scott. And so to give you the background information and to make that introduction is Kevin Christian, our Public Information Officer.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Board,
Good evening.
Dr. Mayor, and others. Kathleen Williams teaches International Baccalaureate Literature at Lake Weir High School. She's taught in Marion County for 7 years, all of those 7 years at Lake Weir High School. To honor a student who recently passed away, she led a group of IB students to complete a CAS, or a Creativity Activity Service project. Now, this happened after school hours. This put those students directly into action, creating stepping stones for a walkway to a memorial garden. This project also included bench seating underneath one of those beautiful grand majestic oak trees that we have in our community. In the process, her students learned a lot. They learned about indigenous plants, and I practiced that word before this program. Techniques for planting, weed control, irrigation, plant placement, aesthetics, water management, pollution, and local environmental issues. Their project also involved months of planning, exploring areas of improvement, designing, fundraising, and certainly lots of hours in Florida's hot sunshine environment. For these efforts, Ms. Williams received a Champion of Service Award from our Governor Rick Scott recently. This statewide honor recognizes volunteers who go above and beyond when it comes to service, both for and in their community. So at this time, I'd like to welcome Ms. Kathleen Williams up to the podium. I know you have some special words for her. I believe she's in the back. She's the one with a big smile on her face right here. Congratulations. What a wonderful accomplishment, not just for you, but especially for those students who were part of it. And let's make that, this is the award that she received. Beautiful award there. So Ms. Williams, congratulations. Give us an idea of a time frame involved here. How long did it take for all of this?
Well, the CAS program for IB requires 18 months of continuous service from the students, including a project that incorporates all the students in the graduating class of that year. So this year's group will be graduating now. They're sitting for their exams at this time, and they worked very hard on this. Also, the class above them, the senior class that Jack was a part of, helped a lot with this as well, because it was in memory of the child of a teacher who's a valued member of our staff who had passed away. So for 18 months, they've been working on this.
Amazing. And it's all complete now.
Well, the garden is in place. We're hoping that it's something that will be a continuous project that the students can work on over time, and that can be passed on as a kind of a legacy from one generation of the IB students to the next.
And my last question is, where is this garden located?
It's located in the front of Lake Weir High School. In fact, Wayne Livingston, who was here just being recognized, was the principal at the time who gave us permission to do this. He was very kind and generous in allocating a large portion of land right in front of the parking lot that is for the administration building. So it's in the front there.
Superb.
That's perfect. You guys, Ms. McCall.
Thank you. I see your smiling mom and dad right there, right there. I know they're very proud. And thank you for taking this on and for sharing with our students to give back to your community. A lot of them, that's inane with them and they understand it, but many students have to have a role model in order to learn that giving is so much more than taking. And so I thank you for giving that to the students and for honoring this young man who passed away. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Mr. James.
I had an opportunity, and when I see you, I have to smile again because I remember you in your youth as well. I had an opportunity to be with you at the County Commission office, and I had an opportunity to see photos of the project and what it was really about, and the number of students that were involved, and the passion, and all the things that went with that. And I would love to encourage the school board, if we could, Kevin, if you could get the pictures from her and let them run through our media system as well. Again, I want to congratulate you for a job well done. And I know your parents are there, and your parents, and I know Jim, I had your dad too, but he didn't, in high school, so he didn't do stuff like that. But I just want to congratulate you as always for a job well done. And I just want to thank you for being a part of what we do. I was there when you got your IB program, and I'm proud of you for the work that you've done and what work that you're doing for the school system. Thank you.
Ms. Stacy.
And I was also there with Kathleen when she received her award at the County Commission. Penny Miller contacted me, and she is one of the governor's appointees for the work that she does, and she works with the volunteers, and she locates and isolates different things that's going on great in communities and shares it with the governor. She's one of our commissioners, and I've known her for years, and so I knew when she contacted me that because she is class, and so I knew that if she had isolated you out and focused and put a beam on you, that you were super special. But I already knew that anyway, because I will take credit for just how wonderful you are today, because I think you had one of your first birthday parties at my ranch. And so maybe we just led you to fabulous. So, you know, your parents are great, and I taught writing to your sister, and it's just a great, great family, and always with the children, always doing things with them. Dad was always there. He was great. And I just can't be more proud. You know, when we know them when they're really little, and then they grow up to be like you are. But I knew you would be anyway, so I already knew it. I was ahead of the game. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. We love you.
Aw, I know, you're adorable, your smile. And
She's just adorable. She's always been this way.
Is she? I'm like,
Yeah, she's
aw.
always been this way.
At the beginning, I said leader instead of teacher on accident, but now I know I definitely would say you're a leader. And I thank you for teaching our students compassion. What a beautiful gesture you did. And when Mr. Christian was describing it, I was visualizing it, and I cannot wait to see the pictures, because I can envision the majestic oak and the tree. I just can't wait to see it. So thank you and congratulations, and keep up the great work. And don't ever lose that smile. It's gorgeous.
People will follow her anywhere.
I know. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, Dr. Mayer.
Thank you. Ms. Williams, as superintendent, I want to thank you for touching the lives of so many students and for being just a great teacher who brings the love of learning to the classroom, and for all the extra you do. We know that it was done from the heart and with joy, but so many of your own hours went into it. As a mom, thank you. Jack wanted to come tonight to say thanks. When he went away to college, and he would, because, you know, they don't call, they text, you know. So he would text me, and we would be texting back and forth, and he would check in on people, and he would always ask about you, always. And I said, and what blows my mind is that you taught a literature course, and Jack, and I'll speak for you, honey, he doesn't really like literature, but you made him love literature, and with my passion for reading, thank you for giving him that gift and for inspiring him and for creating a classroom where he would come home and just tell me the great conversations that you all would have in class and how you would present differing ideas, and you respected every student and every idea, and just you inspired them. And thank you so much. And to your parents, thank you for being the parents of such a magnificent human being. Thank you.
Kevin, can we get a picture of them and their family? Because they're not gonna come up, they don't come this way that much.
You want it in here, or shall I take them out?
In here's fine.
In here is fine.
Just her. We didn't do it.
With your mom as well. Your mom can jump.
We didn't do it.
I take 50 million pictures.
Come on, give me one of those.
There you go.
You need to get one with Jack. One of
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
Jack, you part of this project? Yes, sir. One more.
All right.
Ms. Teresa Boston Ellis, Business Services, and Kristen Corrigan, Internal Auditor, please come forward and introduce those here this evening to be recognized for perfect bookkeeping audits.
Yay!
Yay! This is awesome.
Madam Chair, Madam Superintendent, board members, Attorney Green, and welcome back, Brenda. Christine and I are so excited to recognize 4 more schools that have perfect audits. We shared with Dr. Mayer a long time ago There's certain school, this was a perfect audit, and she thought, well, we need to recognize them. So we want to also appreciate her for recognizing the work that is put in by the schools to keep their schools fiscally sound and follow good bookkeeping practices. And another item that was added was a certification, and we want to thank Kevin, he's not in here now, because he put these together so that we can give them a document that they can take back to their schools. So, Christine?
Good evening, Superintendent, Mayor, and board members. Each of these schools have achieved what we call a perfect audit. To clarify, a perfect audit simply consists of having no findings for your school year, which means that they met all of our Red Book requirements, our Florida statutes, and all of our school board policies that you have put in place. The certificate they are receiving tonight says Award of Bookkeeping Excellence presented in recognition of achieving an audit with no findings for the 14 or 15-16 school year, presented this 9th day of May 2017. It is signed by Dr. Heidi Mayer and School Board Chair Ms. Kelly King. I'd like to call up the principal at 8th Street Elementary, Ms. Teresa Buck, and Secretary Ms. Susie Rainey. Ms. Susie Rainey has been working for our school district for 29 years, and through her tenure, she has created a strong relationship with her principal, the staff, and the PTO. They have a very active PTO there, and it requires a strong secretary that communicates well and helps the transitions occur seamlessly as they work together to help the school run. Thank you again for doing a great job.
Hi, good evening. I wanted to say a few things about Susie. I've had the pleasure for 2 years to work with her. I had become a new principal a couple years ago, so I was very blessed to get Susie because she has taught me so much over the last couple of years. I know in the beginning I would say to her, just keep me out of trouble. Just whatever you do, keep me out of trouble. But I know experience plays a huge role. But another one is communication. She's a great communicator, whether it's with me or our PTO or our staff. She does a great job with that. A lot of the times, even today, she would come in my office, this is what's coming across your desk. I just want to tell you ahead of time, this is what it is, and this is why it is. So before I even get a chance to question it, she is already in there explaining that to me and what it looks like. The other piece of it is just consistency. She has procedures, and our staff is well aware of what those procedures are, but she does a fantastic job of training the new people when they come in and really teaching them this is why we do what we do and why we do it this way, so that way the mistakes aren't made. And rather than just doing it for them, she really walks them through that. So I do appreciate that and everything that she does for us.
I would like to call up the principal at Greenway Elementary, Ms. Luann Clark, and Secretary Ms. Kelly Sullivan. During the 15-16 school year, Kelly did nothing but show progression in her work. She has grown each year in her performance as a secretary. She collected over 1,000 monies collected forms from her teachers, and none of those funds were turned in late, which means that all of their funds were turned in the next business day. Congratulations, and thank you. Ms. Clark?
Dr. Mayor and the board, it is a pleasure to be here. Ms. Sullivan is a wonderful bookkeeper. She dots every I and crosses every T, and she tells me how to do it. Nothing gets past her. She's meticulous in everything that she does. Her record keeping obviously is evidence of the perfect audit. What impresses me most with Ms. Sullivan, if she doesn't know, she will call. And I've learned the auditor's number as well, but she finds out, and so just to ensure that everything is correct, and I appreciate that because it's certainly for 3 years that she has been working with us, we have just made tremendous progress with our bookkeeping. She's taught me so much, and she's just a valued member of our staff, and I do appreciate her very much.
I would like to call up the principal at Legacy Elementary, Ms. Dawn Prestipino, the current secretary, Ms. Liz Lucas, and the prior secretary during the 14-15 and partial 15-16 school year, Ms. Belinda White. We are pleased to tell you that Legacy Elementary had a perfect audit for both 14-15 and 16-17 school years. What a great accomplishment. Between the two school years, there was a large increase in activity from one year to the next. And due to that, they were still able to achieve this through the transition. During the 15-16 school year, we did have a transition that occurred with the secretaries and went very smoothly. Each of the secretaries were able to show a seamless workflow change. Thank you for that, and congratulations to you both. Ms. Prestipino.
Thank you, Dr. Mayor and School Board, for acknowledging these two ladies. I am very proud to acknowledge them too. It really does take two to keep track of me and keep me on, on the straight and narrow, but I have learned a lot from them. Belinda was with me at SPAR, and then we transitioned and opened up Legacy, brand new, and what an experience, and starting over with like zero money. So Kristen is right. We grew a lot in the last 4 years, so a lot of money was coming through. Our PTO grew and so on. So thank you very much, Belinda, for your help. And then Liz came on board, and they just transitioned so smoothly. But I would like to take a minute, too, to thank them for their communication with the teachers and the personnel at my school. They are very good at training them, the teachers, as to what they need, and showing them at the beginning of the year and color coding everything to make it simple for us, and communicating with Kristen's office to find out how to do it properly before we even start, which is great. They take the bull by the horn and find out what we need to do. And thank you to Kristen's office, because no matter when we call, your girls are always so patient and walk us through everything. So it's a real team effort, but I want to applaud these two ladies tonight because I really appreciate everything they've done for Legacy.
And last, but certainly not least by any means, I would like to call up the current principal, Miss Natalia Robledo from Marion Oaks Elementary, the current secretary, Miss Christine Cortez, and for part of the year 15-16, I would like to call up Miss Melissa Acasio. With both Melissa and Christine working together, they were both able to accomplish that transition as well as a change in secretary, with collecting funds, processing a lot of fundraisers that they had, and still gaining a perfect audit. Thank you both for your hard work.
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, and superintendent. Thank you for acknowledging the hard work that Ms. Ocasio and Ms. Cortez have put forth for this audit. I didn't realize how much work a secretary goes through until I started seeing what they did. As a new principal that year, Ms. Ocasio taught me the importance of paying attention to detail. I, again, did not realize the little details of, if there's a little mark here, we have to have an initial. So she taught me that. And then when Ms. Cortez started in September as a new secretary, I had to teach her the importance of the detail. But I think what made this successful was the teamwork that we had between the three of us and the teachers. They were very good with training the teachers. They did not, they knew what they wanted, and if they didn't get it, they went ahead and said, no, listen, you have to do it correctly. And I think that's what made it successful. We also reviewed every document that came through, and when I say we, again, the three of us, making sure it met the Red Book requirements and the Marion County School Board policies. And of course, we could not have done it without the guidance of Ms. Corrigan. She was great. We had her number on speed dial. But congratulations, Ms. Ocasio, Ms. Cortez, job well done. Wait, you guys can't leave yet. Wait, you can't leave yet. Good try. You're held hostage. Just kidding.
Can we get them up and get a picture of all this?
Yes, please. Do you guys mind?
You didn't get away.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Scoots. See, just like children, you tell them what to do and they listen. Here we go. And 1, 2, 3, no. One more.
Okay, and
Great idea, Dr. Mayor. Thank you, board.
Thank you. I will now ask the school board's attorney to explain the rules governing persons who wish to address the school board tonight.
In compliance
compliance with Florida's Sunshine Law, the school board has adopted uniform procedures for public speakers who wish to speak at tonight's meeting, either regarding one of tonight's agenda items or a matter relating to the operations of the school district. These procedures will ensure the public has a reasonable opportunity to be heard on school board and school district matters. A written summary of these procedures is available from the table near the door. Public speaker forms are also located on the table. The completed forms were due to the school board assistant no later than 5:40 p.m. Madam Chair will call tonight's speakers prior to the business portion of the school board's meeting in the order of receipt. Before you begin speaking, please state your full name and address and spell your last name. Each speaker will have 5 minutes to speak. When the speaker has 1 minute remaining, the speaker will receive a visual notice to complete his or her comments. Speakers and meeting attendees must conduct themselves in a respectful manner. Therefore, verbal attacks, slanderous statements, and profanity are strictly prohibited. If there are matters dealing with student discipline, including expulsions, they will be scheduled at the conclusion of the televised portion of this meeting. Parents may address the board regarding a discipline matter at that time. To ensure student privacy, only a parent or guardian may use a student's first or last name. Identifying references to or identification of other students and or their families are also strictly prohibited. Thank you for your attention to the board's requirement. Madam Chair, that concludes my remarks.
Thank you. Ms. Blockheader?
Chris Altabello.
Chris Altabello, A-L-T-O-B-E-L-L-O, 2020 Northeast 43rd Street, Ocala, Florida, 34479. Good evening, Madam Chair, Superintendent Mayor, board members. I would like to address you tonight regarding the recent passage of the state budget and House Bill 7069. In trying to prepare for my short presentation, I couldn't help thinking of a famous movie quote which sums up what I am feeling, and I hope what you're feeling too. In 1976, the film Network was released. This film won 4 Academy Awards, and in 2000 was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. In 2002, it was inducted to the Producers Guild of America Hall of Fame as a film that has set an enduring standard for U.S. American entertainment. In 2005, the 2 Writers Guilds voted the screenplay as one of the 10 greatest in America's cinema. The film is also iconic for Peter Finch's Academy Award-winning role as Howard Beale. At one point during the movie, Beale, while on the newscast, yells, and I'm sorry, "I am mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore." Apologize, Madam Attorney. Board, Madam Superintendent, I am mad. I am mad because once again our legislature has failed to make our schools a priority. During secret behind-the-scenes negotiations, Senate and House leadership packaged many policy bills together into one massive bill, HB 7069. Joanne McCall, our Florida Education Association president, noted that legislators once again manipulated the legislative process with a last-minute bill that cynically ties popular reforms to yet another sketchy teacher bonus scheme and an education budget that won't even come close to meeting the needs of our students. The Miami Herald reported that 7069 included proposals, get this, from over 55 House and Senate bills filed this legislative session. Most of those bills were never discussed or debated. And in one case, one was defeated in committee. The bill even hijacked popular proposals like recess and minor testing relief to further reduce your local control of this school district. Let me give you more examples. The annual contract bill, which this board and superintendent came out strongly against, and we very much appreciated that, was defeated in committee, only to be brought back in House Bill 7069 and ultimately passed. The Best and Brightest Scholarship goes from $49 million to over $200 million. Remember, this is the scholarship that awards a teacher for taking that SAT back in the 80s and says, oh, you're a great teacher because you got in the 80th percentile. Ludicrous. The legislature even carved out $134 million for carpetbagging charter schools to invade our state looking to cash in on our students. Those who voted for this budget, and I'm sure they're going to tout that they're giving districts on average, and I got a little manipulative here, Common Core math here, 10, 15, 20, 21, 22, 23, $24 increase per FTE for our districts. But when you dig deeper, I bet Teresa's going to find out that much of this money is not going to go to our students. It's going to go to tied up categoricals that you all have no control over. But the real kicker, the one that you won't find anywhere from anyone who voted for this bill, they won't talk about this, is the fact that the base student allocation will see a decrease of $27 per student. It is the base student allocation which allows school districts the maximum flexibility with your dollars. Madam Chair, I'm going to need another minute. Board, this budget proposal reduces the base funding for each student by $27. It offers the lowest overall increase in funding since the days of the economic crisis 6 years ago. And it fails to reach the per-student funding levels that were approved by the legislature in 2007, over a decade ago. Now, there is hope for our students, and the hope rests with our governor. He can veto this budget and demand that our elected leaders make our schools a priority. Now, I ask this board and everyone in this audience and watching at home to contact Governor Scott and let him know that you're as mad as I am, and you're not going to take it anymore. For our kids' sake, right? Now, by the way, today's National Teacher Appreciation Day. I can't think of a better way to honor teachers than to elect pro-public education legislators. Thank you.
Do we have any other speakers?
But I'm going to let the attorney address this one.
Ms. Riggins is here with regard to a termination matter. She's already filed a timely request, so it wouldn't. Okay.
Okay, so,
Take care of it.
thank you.
I have an additional request. However, they've asked to not be televised, so they'll speak at the end of the business portion of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to adopt revised board policy 4.21, instructional materials? Moved by Ms. McCall and seconded by Ms. Boynton. Dr. Mayer?
This board policy has been revised to include updates to laws implemented as well as new requirements mandated by state statutes, and that was the presentation that Ms. Lucido and Mrs. Marr did for you.
I declare a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the revisions to Board Policy 5.16? Hold on.
4.20, I apologize.
Okay, let me repeat that. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the revisions to Board Policy 4.21, instructional materials? Okay, seeing none. Board members, do you have any discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those that oppose, like sign. And the motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to adopt new board policy 5.16, educational stability for children in foster care?
Second.
Moved by Ms. Boynton and seconded by Mr. James.
This new board policy ensures coordination between the district and welfare agencies regarding the transportation of students placed in foster care.
I declare a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to address new board policy 5.16? Ward, do you have any discussion? No. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those that oppose, like sign. And the motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to adopt revised board policy 7.52, travel expense reimbursement?
So moved.
Your second? Okay. Moved by Mr. James and seconded by Ms. Boynton.
This revised board policy reflects minor revisions to incorporate an increase in the reimbursement rate.
I declare a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to address revised board policy 7.52? Seeing none. Prior to board discussion, I wish to recognize Dr. Mayer.
Dr. Ham is here to update you all on this policy.
Madam Superintendent, Board Chair, Board members, thank you very much. As you may know, for years, the mileage reimbursement rate for our employees who use their privately owned vehicles has languished at about 40 cents per mile. And since that time, the cost to the individual to operate and maintain a vehicle has increased. We are adopting what many districts have adopted, and that is to calibrate the rate of reimbursement at the IRS rate, which typically runs around 54.5 cents, 55 cents per mile. This is particularly important for our employees. We have many employees who are wage hour earners, like our social work assistants, who drive between homes to provide services, and it gives them a break. We don't provide them a government vehicle to operate, but rather pay them a mileage for using their own vehicles. Contrary to popular belief, we do not provide mileage payment for home-to-work transportation. It's only when they have 2 or more workplaces during the day. And we believe this is the right thing to do for our employees, and we're pleased that you've entertained this at the work session, and we bring it to you tonight for approval.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion by the board? No. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those that oppose, like sign. And the motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall and seconded by Ms. Boynton. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those that oppose, like sign. And the motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the disposition of tangible property as submitted?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Ms. Boynton and seconded by Mr. James. Dr. Mayer, you wish to discuss this item?
Oh, we have happy news for you, Board, and to share that is Scott Hansen, the Director of Technology and Information Systems.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Superintendent, board members. I wanted to speak to you just for a couple minutes about a trade-up program that we worked with the reseller of Smart Interactive Boards a few years ago, and just share with you the savings that has brought to the district over the last few years. When we have irrelevant technology, you see it in the form of the disposition of tangible property. And I think the important thing is, as we continue to bring relevant technology into the school system, we try to look for every avenue to bring discounts to our schools. So the trade-up program takes interactive boards that are no longer serviceable, under warranty, or can be supported through operating systems or firmware or software upgrades, and we provide a discount working with a reseller of approximately $300 per board. Over the last few years, we have used that discount to equate to about $57,000 in savings to the school district, and that's across 188 interactive boards in our schools. We have approximately 200 more boards that you'll see coming through the board over the next couple of years, which will equate to another $60,000 of savings through the trade-up program.
Board, do you have any comments or questions?
No questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those that oppose, like sign. And the motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the grant application Magnet School Assistance Program? Moved by Ms. McCall, seconded by Ms. Boynton. Dr. Mary, you wish to discuss this item?
Yes, to explain this exciting new venture that we're taking is Holly Gerlach, who will be our Director of Elementary Education as of July 1st, and Renee Senjuns, the Program Specialist for Federal Programs. And Mr. Raymond as well is joining us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Superintendent, and board members. The Magnet School Assistance Program grant is really exciting. I know you've heard Holly Gerlach and Mr. Raymond speak on and on about the Magnet program, but this is one of the grants that we wrote to actually support some of the endeavors that they've explained to you. Let's see. So, as you know, we have called it Students and Teachers Energizing Active Minds, STEAM. And you've heard STEAM on and on again throughout their presentations. The elementary schools that were selected were Dr. N.H. Jones, Reddick Collier, Sunrise Elementary, and the feeder middle schools, as you can see, are Howard Middle, North Marion Middle, and Horizon Academy. The project's goals are really pretty simple. As you see, the first one is increase student achievement. Really no comments, no really anything to elaborate on that. The equitable access that they spoke about a lot has to do with the reduction, isolation, and prevention of minority groups' isolations that we spoke about in the grant, increased enrollment at some of those schools, and the K through 12 STEAM programming. The competitive priorities that that Holly and Mr. Raymond will speak about, the competitive priority number one, we had to identify a need for the assistance for the magnet schools. Secondly, we had to speak to whether we were going to do new magnet schools or revise magnet school projects and how we were going to support them. The third priority point was how we were going to select the students for that school. And fourth, increasing racial integration and socioeconomic diversity. So Holly Gerlach will talk about the first priority point.
All right, good evening. With that in mind, we're going to start with the competitive preference priority number one, and that is the need for assistance. So as we did numerous needs assessment across our district, we realized that there was a need for a continuation of programming efforts. So with that, we have great programming efforts happening at our high schools, but we wanted to make sure we could establish feeder patterns so our students starting in kindergarten could have the opportunity to continuously go through a magnet continuation. So this is going to outline those feeder patterns for equitable opportunities for those students. With that in mind, we also wanted to make sure that we address the geographical regions within our large county. So with that, we looked at where can we geographically place school sites, so we want to make sure that we have equitable access in the northern end of our county, centrally located, as well as on the southern end of the county. So with that, and if you'll look at the little stars there, those will notate where they are. So obviously in the northern end, we have Reddick Collier that will go to North Marion Middle. Centrally located, we have Dr. N.H. Jones that will go to Howard Middle School. And then on the southern end of the county, we have Sunrise that will go to Horizon Academy. Also with that, we had to identify specifically with the Department of Education to the Secretary as to what type of magnet schools these would be. With that in mind, Dr. N.H. Jones is going to be a significant change. They already have a current existing program. However, we wanted to continue to develop their programming efforts to focus on the arts. As we've talked numerous times, we have that ongoing need for creativity and for collaboration and communication and critical thinking. So with that in mind, that would constitute a change. Where Sunrise Elementary, it's going to be a brand new magnet school. Reddick Collier will also be a new magnet school given the numbers. They're going to add on to basically what they already have with Cambridge as well. Also, Howard Middle School, we're very excited. It's going to be our first whole school magnet for middle, so the children will actually have the opportunity to select which program they would like to go in. So it's going to be a hybrid, but a whole school magnet that will have both the IB program as well as STEAM. With that, Horizon Academy will go ahead and be a new magnet school, and then North Marion Middle will also be a significant expansion.
Got a question here.
Yes.
Back it up and talk to me about Dr. N.H. Jones. You said Dr. N.H. Jones would be what now?
It's still going to have its existing program, but we're changing it to, because historically it's been STEM, we're changing it over to STEAM to match this cohort.
Okay, and you mentioned something about the arts.
Yes, we're going to add more robust arts programming efforts, and we'll go ahead and we'll highlight that a little bit later on. Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm interested to see how it will match up with Madison Street as well now.
Absolutely. So the next part that the Secretary was also interested in this specific grant is going to be what we call the strength of evidence or promise within the magnet schools. This is actually a current snapshot that we have developed with our growth planning and management under the direction of Mr. David Herlihy. This is actually a scatter plot of where all the current children from Dr. N.H. Jones currently come from. So they literally come from all over the county. So this supports and shows that there's great evidence of promise for all of our students all over the county, that if we have great robust programming, that they will come to these various locations. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Raymond, who will address competitive preference priority number 3.
Looking at the school, what we wanted to do is we need to affect the demographics of the school. In order to do that, in order to open these opportunities to all our children, we had to find schools that have openings. We wanted schools with at least 90 open seats so we could bring additional children in, thus positively impacting the demographics. To do that, we looked at several things. One, we'll continue the board policy of professional courtesy. It's a benefit that helps teachers, and it works. The other part is sibling priority. We want to keep families together. So if they have a child in the school, they get priority in bringing another child in while they're there. Magnet priority is very important, and we have not been doing that in the past. If you're in a program like Dr. N.H. Jones, you will get a priority as you move up into another STEAM school. So Jones into Howard, they would have a priority, and the same for Sunrise into Horizon. And then the lottery, that's the key to helping us provide equitable access to all. Here you can see we're out of skew with our county. The district average is about 52%. We have one school, North Marion Middle, that's where it should be, and we're going to work hard to maintain that. Through targeted marketing, we're going to impact the other schools. For example, Dr. N.H. Jones, we need to bring in more of the neighborhood, and that's a priority, and our lottery will allow us to do that. And then we'll be addressing the other schools the same way. We'll target the populations that we need to bring in. That also impacts the economic groups. As you can see, Howard Middle School is the only one that's within the 10% that the Justice Department likes to see. Again, targeting marketing, we're going to impact the audiences, bring in equity, and thus bring our schools back in line, allowing all children equal opportunity.
So just looking briefly over of the budget, this is a 5-year grant cycle. The maximum amount of the award is $3 million over the course of the 5 years. So obviously it would max out at $15 million. Some of the things in terms of the planning cost, the first year they allow you to have what's called those planning limitations. So that is going to constitute anything that would be a one-time purchase. So for example, technology, that's a one-time purchase that we would have to make at large. However, obviously, those ongoing repairs and things like that would be something that could be planned in for the latter years. So we're extremely excited when we put together this project. We really wanted to focus on the programming efforts. And this is one of the things that we're most excited about is the personnel, because we know as we look at our human capital, that's where we're going to get great impact. So one of the things that we wrote into our proposal was to have a marketing and public relations program specialist to help us to make sure that we are marketing and recruiting and attracting great families to want to come to these actual school sites. With that, we know it's a lot of work, so we wanted to get someone to help Kevin in all of his endeavors, specifically for our magnet schools. Also, we also wrote in an art program specialist. Their sole job is to help with art implementation, not only for our art teachers, but to get that into the classrooms, because we know how powerful it is. Let's think about this together. Can we look at different paintings and analyze congruent angles? So there's so many things that we can do, and we really wanted to maximize on the art and the music integration. So not only supporting those actual music specialists and art specialists, but also helping with our core education teachers on how to teach our standards even better and more authentically engaging our students. Also, there's going to be what we call STEAM lead teachers. Those are going to be the actual site-based personnel that's going to help with the overall STEAM implementation plan. Also with that, we also budgeted in extra what we call STEAM teachers, and those are going to be personnel that are going to help us to offer additional arts, additional music, and so forth and so on, depending on the course codes of the different schools. With that, we also wanted to make sure that we were highlighting the different things within our physical environment. We briefly mentioned we wanted to make sure that we increase technologies. We wanted to also make sure that we have outdoor classrooms. What better way to engage students than actually being outdoors and using that as nature's classroom? We also wrote in to update all of the different stages for performances, as we know this is something that we will be extremely excited to offer, as well as we also wanted to upgrade and in some cases just implement great multimedia production studios, as well as maker spaces, so the art of maker spaces. More often than not, we always tell kids what they have to do. So we really want to bring that whole notion of what can you make, what can you do, and really allowing kids to have that creative outlet in that space to actually just tinker and to play and to think and say, what if? So having that creative outlet in that space. Also, we know marketing is extremely important. We are very excited about this, some digital marquees, because some of those little marquees, you only can fit 4 letters on them. So we really wanted to give them an outlet to not only share great highlights, but to help with the marketing, the communication pieces of things that they could use to highlight what's great happening at their schools. Also, with the innovative programming efforts, we have had ongoing conversations with a lot of great community personnel, and I would be remiss if I did not just completely be flabbergasted at the outpouring of the community that wants to support these wonderful schools. So 2 of them that I'm most excited about, not that any of them are less exciting, but one is our Artist in Residence program. So we've actually worked with Fine Arts of Ocala, and we have more people that are willing to help bring local artists into our school sites so they can actually be with a community artist and say, okay, this is your actual craft. Now, how do we bring this into our schools? What kind of things can we do with this? So actually having artists in residence at our different school sites to support our teachers and to support our students, most importantly. Another great endeavor, we actually are going to have what's called Lunch with a Scientist. It is going to be a program that's partnered with the Institution of Human and Machine Cognition right downtown Ocala, and they are actually going to bring in world-renowned scientists for our students to see. And I keep saying over and over, you can't be what you can't see. We need to put amazing people in front of our kids so they can see the opportunities that they potentially can be. So with that, we're actually most excited in October. We actually are going to have William Shepard from the NASA Space Administration coming to our schools. So we're extremely excited to have that opportunity for our students. So this is just one of many great things to happen. Also that, once again, highlighting not just those grandiose awesome people like the NASA engineers, but also the local heroes. So we actually are going to have a character education program called STEAM Hero of the Month, where we highlight local community members to come in, to talk to our students, to showcase this is what I do. It might be a hobby, it might be a career, but we want to show what we have to offer here in Marion County. Also continuing, giving them those leadership opportunities. Our kids need those leadership opportunities because without communication, without creativity, collaboration, what's it for? We got to show them and give them experiences to help build their skill sets. So some of those we're going to have Lego First Clubs. We're also going to have Odyssey of the Mind. We're going to bring down Model UN to our middle school. So once again, just the sky's the limit for these kids. Once again, trying to increase those STEAM classes, digital arts, drama, photography, and really it's going to be based off of the different certifications of the teachers as to what we can offer. And most importantly, really just rethinking the way that we engage kids. We have to teach the standards. However, how we teach them is how we're going to engage them. So it needs to have relevancy, it needs to have context, and we need to provide great opportunities for our students, and truly, STEAM's the way to do that. So then, last but not least.
Sustainability. Really what I'd like to do is go from the bottom up. The innovative program is a lot to do with those planning costs that you saw in the very beginning. There's that $1.5 million in the first year. So a lot of the planning costs for some of those innovative programs that Holly was talking about, but the big key to that are those community partners that she's already established, which IHMC and with the Fine Arts of Ocala. And then moving up from that physical environment, if you think about it, it would be the technology, the stage, the curtains. You want to walk into that school feeling like, wow, this is a place I really want to go. And the costs associated with that are significant. We were really, really kind of surprised even how much a curtain is on a stage to get it redone. And then moving up to the personnel, the media public relations specialists that will be doing that big marketing piece, it will be time limited. That will be their job through the duration of the grant is to actually market the magnet schools. And then from there, we will use the marketing products, obviously, moving forward when we add schools or however the district wants to do that. The coordinators or lead teachers that Holly was talking about are actually already in our magnet schools, so we continued that. And the teachers, they'll eventually, I mean, what we want to do, and like Holly said, it'll depending on what each school needs, but they'll be absorbed into the staffing plan. It's really those people that are the leaders that we want to present and bring out and to attract to those schools. So I think we'll be really good with it in that push that we're trying to do. You know, it's a 5-year grant. It will take some time, but I think it's really going to be awesome. You get pretty excited when you listen to Holly about all the things that are going on. So, thank you. You have any questions?
Have we already gotten the grant?
No, ma'am.
Is it a sure thing that we're going to get the grant?
I wish.
I mean, what happens if we don't get the grant?
We have actually been working on that because we would never want to go into something that we couldn't fulfill. So we've already told these schools will be STEAM schools. It's just that large generated cost initially is going to be the biggest incurred cost. The professional development we still are going to have accounted for, and I truly believe it's that human capital. We have to invest in our people. That's already accounted for. The biggest piece is more of the aesthetics. All of those great things that we want to do with the curtains, would we be able to do without the grant? No, but it's one of those things where we will do what we can, and I think that's why our work with our community partners is going to be that much more vital.
When will we know?
They're supposed to do, so it's a little bit of a time frame, and, you know, like I said, federal legislature, you never know what's gonna happen. The good news is we actually found out last week that the budget was approved on the federal level, so it is guaranteed money that will be allocated. It is a national grant, so we are supposed to, we've already been accepted, so they've accepted our application, which was the first process. Then what's gonna happen is actual Department of Education reviews it. Then it goes to an intergovernmental, second review by the Office of Civil Rights to make sure that we are furthering, their initiatives as well. We expect to hear something, hopefully, we hope August, if not sooner, but like I said, federal government, we're at their, time stamp.
So are we in competition with others that have applied for this grant? Or is it that we have to be sure that the grant is written in a certain way?
Yes, ma'am.
Or both?
It is a national grant, and we are competing against others nationally. I think one of the biggest things to note is we have never actually applied for this grant in Marion County, which is very promising. So we're excited. Those specific competitive preference priorities, those are things that the Secretary of Education specifically asked for. That's why we wrote our proposal that way.
One of my concerns is we're in the process of writing the grant. In the process of writing the grant, we have this idea that we will get 15 million to 20 million or whatever. But in the process of doing that, we have to come up with money from our budget, from the school district budget, to move forward with any of this. Am I correct on that now? We have to look.
It's already been allocated. We do have money that is specifically set aside for professional development and things like that.
In our current budget, we already have money set aside for it.
Not currently, no. This would be for the upcoming year.
Okay.
It's all the extra stuff that, like the curtains, things like that, that we do not have allocated specifically. It's more of the aesthetics.
Okay, so we're looking at the aesthetics. Okay.
Dr. Grantham.
I was gonna say, Dr. Grantham,
Go
you
ahead.
wanna come up?
Ms. James, the human capital piece, the PD piece, is already part of what we're doing for those team schools. The marquees, the other pieces that we provide is not part of that, so we will still be able to do the STEAM school. The PD is going to remain the same because we're already getting prepared for that, so there's no additional cost or anything. So there's no money being set aside because we're going to move forward without we're not going to call it the smoke and mirrors piece of it, but without the meat and potatoes of it. We're going to be a STEAM school. We might not have all the bells and whistles if we don't get the Magna grant.
Okay. When I hear this now, I know my colleague will often say that when these grants go into the sunset, we have to, and the school district will have to pick them up.
Right.
Okay, I'm also concerned sometimes that when we start looking at our budget and we start planning before we've really delved into our budget, that we have a tendency sometimes to overthink our budget, and I want to make sure that we're not overthinking our budget here.
The point of the Magnet School grant is kind of a shot in the arm to get you going, to get you started, and then you build. That's why it's a 5-year piece, so you can kind of go back a little bit and you're ready as to implement in year 6. So the point of it is say, here, do some research, pay attention to what's going on. Here's like the foundational pieces to get you going, and then you maintain that year 6. So the part of this, and why we're such a, I believe we're going to get that, is we've never applied, and they want to help us. The Office of Civil Rights wants us to be a part of this to work on diversity in our school. So that's the kind of the mantra we're having, the approach we're having, but it's just a shot to get us going. It's not intended. It's never intended to supplant or to take place of. It's just to get us started. Does that make sense, Mr. James?
You got it.
Stacy.
As a person that's just a constant planner, if I have plan A, I have plan B, C, and D. It's just the way I am. And it sounds like that's the way you're thinking.
Yeah.
We have plan A, which is we get the grant. We have plan B. If we don't get the grant, we'll do this. And then if the budget cuts, we have plan C, and we'll do this. But we put everything in place for plan A, and then we have realized the dream, and now we look at the pieces of the dream that our budget will cover through staff development that we have to use anyway. So then now we've had the dream, because without a vision of where we're going, If we wait until, all the stars are lined up to have a vision, never could do anything. Mr. Kent never could do anything. So if we dream big that we can, then there's so many things that's in that dream that we can do for the same price we could have done the not so great for the same dollars. That's called being dollar wise instead of penny wise and dollar foolish like we've been for so many years. To get more bang for our buck by having a plan. Thank you.
One of my concerns on the grant, just because I've worked with so many grants, is we are not a metropolitan area. And you see, and Renee, you see some of these types of federal grants, they look at these metropolitan areas. So I like your thinking. I'm really, I'm on board with this, and I hope that they will look at what we want to do in Marion County, even though our population, although we're 300,000 within the population, but they still don't consider us a metropolitan area.
So the beauty of this grant is they do not want metropolitan areas.
Okay, good.
That's the
I'm
point
glad
of
to hear you say that.
So the metropolitan areas are kind of at a disadvantage compared to us.
Okay.
So that's.
I'm really glad to hear you say that.
And Mr. James, you talked about Jones and Madison Street. So Madison Street's performing arts, Jones is going to be the visual arts, so it's still the A, but we're going to have more of a focus at Jones versus Madison Street, so we're not taking away from each other.
One of the things that I look at when I see Jones and Madison Street is the distance between those two.
Sure, very close, yeah.
And that's always been a concern. You know, we look at kids that are not in that that's in that area, and we have two schools. And I know Mr. Raymond addressed some of this, but we're driving those kids either to Shady Hill, Oak Crest, everywhere else.
Mhm.
And I always think in terms of those particular schools being so close. And that's one of my big concerns with all of this.
Right. Well, I think this is a start to saying instead of Jones and Madison Street, now there's 6 total schools you can choose from, and then maybe 12 total schools. Our goal is that you say, hey, based off the need of my child, that school is just as good as the neighboring school. That's what we're trying to do. So this is just a chunk, a small start to get to where every elementary school is a Jones or a Madison Street. That's the point of this. This point.
I'd like to say one more thing.
Ms. Stacy.
I would like to say also I appreciate Ms. McCall's thoughts because she's been involved with the grant writing and that sort of thing, and I haven't. And so talking back and forth helps me to understand grants. I'm an ABCD person and she's a grant reality person, and so we're getting our heads together and we'll be able to pick the things that we can do out of our dream that we could do something that wasn't so great, that will cost the same amount of money as doing what our dream idea was just a little planning. But I do appreciate, Ms. McCall, you helping me understand some of the grant information because I think that's helpful to have a board member that understands that because that is not my area of expertise. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm on it. I'm right there. I have a dream for it, and I believe for our students and for all of you. I'm supporting that.
Okay. All right, it's great. I'm excited. I hope we get it.
I hope so too. Thank you for the presentation. That was well done, and we appreciate it. Okay. Is there any more discussion from the board before we move on and vote? No? Okay. All those in favor of the grant application magnet school assistance program signify by saying aye. Those that oppose, like sign. And the motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the grant application retired senior volunteer program?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall, seconded by Ms. Boynton. Dr. Mary, you wish to discuss this item?
Yes, in keeping with our promise of transparency, we like you to know all details of any grants that we submit and pursue. So Ms. St. John's is coming back to explain another awesome opportunity we have with our retirees, the Retired Senior Volunteer Program, RSVP.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Superintendent, and board members. I think, Ms. Stacy, you might get to know a little bit more about grants by the time we're done with this. The Retired Senior Volunteer, RSVP. Basically, it is, the oversight of it is the Corporation of National and Community Services, which also has the AmeriCorps, Senior Corps, and the Social Innovation. The one thing about the RSVP grant within that organization, it is one of the most popular ones. It is the largest one with volunteers. It's basically individuals that are 55 and older that have talents and qualities that want to be able to be a part of the community and even learn, to continue to learn. The 4 focus areas that we talked about in this particular grant application was school readiness, which the senior volunteers would be participating in the pre-K classrooms, experts in the classroom. We collaborated with Ms. Zanetti and the foundation on Take Stock in Children and the Reading Pals program with United Way. The school readiness one, the assisting the pre-K classrooms, we mentioned that we'd be about 56 volunteers. There certainly can be more. This is how many we're going to actually report back. So the 56 volunteers are actually from the 28 classrooms that we currently have, with approximately, obviously, 2 volunteers working about an hour a week. But basically, their role will be assisting with that developmentally appropriate practices in the classrooms. And that could be in the classroom, it could be on the playground, it could be during, center and circle time or whatever that looks like. Obviously, our goal is to do that school readiness for the kids going into kindergarten. And obviously, we want them to gain in literacy. So they'll be having dialogue with those students. Experts in the classroom. This one came about through some discussions about individuals that we have in our community that we were speaking, well, even Holly was speaking to, that have so many expertise and so many unique qualities that we need to get them out there in front of our children. What we're finding is kind of the last thing, is that students really don't believe that their education has relevance to their lives. And what the goal with this one is we find, we're saying about 14, but each one would do about 10 presentations, pretty much just, it would just be out there that the schools could have them come do, but the 10 presentations would really give, it'd be about the opportunities and the skills that they would need to get those higher paying salaries. It's really exposing them once again to what that even looks like, because they do say so many times is, I'll never use this, I'll never use this. The Reading Pals you may be familiar with. We partnered with United Way before in our kindergarten classrooms, and we'll be doing the same. They will be spending, usually it's a one-on-one ratio. They'll be spending time with them reading and then reflecting on the story. They spend about 2 times a week, a half hour each time. And that would be obviously exposure to the literacy and that time spent with an individual to improve their academic performance. And then we're really familiar with Take Stock in Children. We worked with Ms. Zanetti to do this. Now these volunteers, the 64 that we're talking about, would be the 55 and older. She definitely has a number of volunteers that fall through different age ranges. And not to even explain theirs, but that part is the gaining the self-esteem and discipline that will be carried through their college. And ideally, theirs is that those high-risk students will outperform their peers with that one-on-one mentoring. Okay, so because it's Senior Corps, one of the big things that the money is spent on is they want to make sure that we are recruiting, obviously, the population that will fulfill the need, so 55 and older. They want to make sure that there's an appropriate placement. So what we're trying to do is when we go out and recruit, we want to have an opportunity, and it can be even more opportunities than we have. They just will not be pointed in this grant, but they will have the opportunity to choose the time frames and kind of the interest areas that they have. Then each one, as they apply and we place them, will go through a volunteer orientation, obviously, and that orientation will probably be added to whether they're with, Take Stock or one of the other programs. The professional development piece, the one thing about RSVP and Senior Corps is not only helping them learn and be successful, but appreciation. It is huge in this grant. I mean, they want them to, we pay for their background. There is obviously the money in there to actually do appreciation and the recognition. What we're going to do with the monthly mixers, we got up with MTC, and it's going to be held in Brewster Hall. And every month they'll have an opportunity to come there. Not only will they learn And the topics will vary, whether it's how to communicate with teams, whatever they need, whatever's kind of the buzz. And then what will happen is our students at MTC will provide services, whether it's the nails or a massage. We do have our health students there that can take their blood pressure and so it'll kind of just be kind of a volunteer recognition fair monthly, you know, because we wanted to keep it where it was a monthly basis because everybody couldn't come every time. If you do one time a year, not everyone can show up. So it'll be a monthly thing that they will be definitely recognized. I'm sure you'll get to meet a lot of them. We'll have them at the board meetings. So the big piece of this is really that recognition part. And really, that's kind of it. It's in a nutshell. It's the Senior Corps volunteer. Yes.
Ms. McCall.
Again, we have not received this grant. We're voting tonight to do it. What are our plans? Because I see a lot of this is, or a significant part of it is salary. What happens if we have to budget for this person if we do not get this grant?
Well, currently what we do is we have a number of volunteers out there. This program is just enhancing really the recognition piece of it, to pay their background screenings and some insurance and stuff like that. This is just a component. Because I know you've dealt with grants, the ones that we've been writing are the ones to support initiatives that we already have going. It's not to really do anything new. So the volunteers that we have out now are just, I can't even tell you, probably Suzanne could tell you the number of volunteer hours that we have. This is just being able to recognize them, just not within their little group, but as a whole. You know, that's really kind of what this is about. So the initiative isn't really anything, it's kind of that, it's always supplement to what we're doing. So it's really to help.
There's personnel in the grant, though, that won't,
Right.
that won't be hired until we get the funds, correct? We're not going to hire a grant person until we are
Correct.
until
Oh,
we
absolutely
receive the
not.
grant.
Absolutely not.
So the $90,779 in personnel expenses is for people that will be hired,
Yes, absolutely.
not somebody that's already on. Okay.
Correct.
No.
Yes, ma'am.
No, not with this.
Okay.
No. Sorry, I didn't understand your question. So, any other questions?
Yeah, I guess I do have one. If we hire someone for that kind of money, I'm trying to learn, Ms. McCall. What happens when the grant ends? How long is the grant for?
The grant is 3 years.
Okay, so what happens to when that person is hired? They do understand that this is like a 3-year job and if the grant is not approved, they understand that that's what they're there for. It's not like at the end of the grant, we have a new person that we have to fund this for. Okay.
The difference between these two grants is that the first one is for sustainability. This is a truly grant-funded position. If we do not get the grant, that person's been hired on the grant. They will know when they get hired there's no year 4.
Okay.
And Ms. McCall, to further address what you said, we're doing this already. We're just formalizing a lot of this and getting it all under some kind of direction instead of just sporadically volunteers are showing up at schools and things.
I guess I'm still a little confused on, I thought our new family position was going to do a lot of this. Then why are we hiring another person?
There's two different things. So that family person is a parental person. They're focused on parental input more so than this position is. This person is making sure that we have all the licensures, all the certifications, all the processes in order, making sure we have like a PD for the folks. And this other person that was hired is for the parental involvement for the district and trying to support parental involvement more in our district.
Okay, because Reading Pals and Take Stock and Children have their own volunteer
Right.
trainings.
It's just trying to get it under one umbrella so we understand what's going on. So it's kind of, in a roundabout way, having the people as a network with each other and sharing each other the resources. Hey, I work at this school, you work at that school, and we can kind of have dialogue and have community, build community with the senior community.
For the Reading Pals, can you explain the conversations you had with Mr. Quintel at United Way and the blessing we got to move forward?
Mr. Quintel approached actually Dr. Mayer about this grant, and he was he wanted to partner with us desperately because he wants his program to be in our schools. So in speaking with him, really, all he really wanted out of it was his ability to be in those kindergarten classrooms. Hathaway will still be over the program. He really is just excited, really, to just have them in the classroom. Like Dr. Grantham said, it's really just a way to kind of measure. You know, we spoke with Ms. Zanetti. She was part of the RSVP that was out at the college. And so it's really just a piece that she wants, it's just another way for her efforts as well as Reading Pal's efforts to be acknowledged. So she's very much aware and wants to be a part of it because she was at the one out at the College of Central Florida. She was in on the group with us and so forth. So it's just kind of it's really going to give us statistics. I mean, because we have to report on a lot of these volunteer.
Well, we had it in Marion County at one time, and I want to say it was through the college and maybe
Right.
even prior to that through the United Way.
Right.
And it really does help recruit volunteers and gives you a lot of data. I'm not against it at all, trust me. I'm just a little confused about who's doing what.
Absolutely. I appreciate
I also thought that the RSVP could only be at one organization in a county, like one place in a county. So the college is giving it up?
Correct, and you had conversation with them before we move forward as well, and we got their blessing as
I
well.
know I spoke to St. Johns County about now, this RSVP, when you said that, Ms. McCall, it kind of, when you talked about the college, it kind of, okay, this is a flashback of 3 years ago when I did talk to somebody about this.
Right, exactly.
And it is in the school system in St. John's.
Correct. And when I spoke to the college, what happened with them, they were just really the entity that would do the paperwork. I mean, they reached out to Take Stock. They reached out to the volunteers, the grandparent programs or whatever. They were just the paperwork people. And our model is actually, it's still kind of the same thing, but these programs are really under your auspice or the board's auspice, so we kind of really know what's going on.
And the family thing will be closer more to the parent age and that sort of thing. Do you know, I was just thinking, I think 4 of us are in the 55 and over. We can volunteer.
The Grandparents Club at at Romeo Elementary
Yes, ma'am.
School on Top of the World is a fabulous program for y'all to look at to begin to engage people because they are 100 strong, I believe.
Absolutely. And we
And
didn't want to rain on their parade at all, but they are definitely going to give us guidance.
Yes, they're
absolutely.
doing it and they're doing it right.
Yeah,
so.
excellent. I've heard all good things. So,
And something that is so unique about this grant application, again, as you mentioned, is that we will be giving back to our seniors as much as they're giving to us. So with them coming in every month, our MTC culinary program will be hosting a luncheon. They'll be able to get their hair done or get their nails done, get a massage, get blood pressure checks. So again, we're able to give back to them. When I was at the college when they had the RSVP program, and the monthly meetings were held in my building, and it was quite the draw. There were many that would come for a great meal and for a guest speaker. So I think that, again, as much as they will give to us, we will give back to them, and I think that is what is so unique about this application, and we're so excited.
absolutely.
Excellent. Hope we get it.
Yes, so am I.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, ready to, oh. Well, it's not coming up yet. There we go. Okay. All those in favor of the grant application, Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, RSVP, signify by saying aye. Aye. And those that are opposed, like sign. And the motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the purchase of test screening kits and materials from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt? I'm having a hard time here. May I have a motion and a second? Moved by Ms. Boynton and seconded by Ms. McCall. Dr. Mayer, you wish to discuss this item?
Yes, this is a significant purchase due to the number of students that are being referred to us at such an early age for pre-K screening. And as we were examining statewide data, this is a significant trend across the state. So Liz Fields, our director of ESE, and Mr. Husted from Fiddlers wanted to do a joint presentation to explain this trend and why we need this purchase.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Chair, honorable school board members, Counselor Green, Ms. Lockketter, thank you for the opportunity this evening to talk with you a little bit about fiddlers and some of the referral trends for our youngest students who are at risk for developmental disabilities. You have some handouts in your stack there. One is about our Fiddlers Network, which is kind of a statewide picture. I'm going to use kind of a Google Earth method this evening. If you're familiar with Google Earth, you plug in a country, you plug in a state, you plug in a county, and then you're kind of down to the street level. So that's how we're going to go this evening. We also have a map of the state, and then something that will help you as we go through our presentation is something called the Road Through Child Find. And part of the transportation in the Road Through Child Find starts with fiddlers, and then it continues with our Exceptional Student Education Department here in Marion County. Just a little bit of introduction. I have worked in Marion County, lived in Marion County for 30 years. I worked as a psychologist for 25 years. I've been at Fiddlers for about 2.5 years. Very familiar with the area. We also have Ms. Fields, the ESC director, our child find specialist. Ms. McBride is in the audience. She did not want to speak this evening. We also have another one of our wonderful ESC folks here who focuses on early childhood, Ms. Claudia Hale-Jenks. So that's who we are. The Fiddler's name, just a little bit of information. When people hear the name Fiddlers, they probably think of Fiddler on the Roof, or maybe you think of Alison Krauss, she's great with the fiddle, or whatever you have. It's actually an acronym. We're great with that in the education field. So the Florida Diagnostic and Learning Resources System. So Fiddlers is a discretionary project that is sanctioned by the Florida Department of Education. It's been around. I think it's the longest standing grant-based program in Florida, at least 40 years. And really it's a network of, they call them associate centers through the state, which serve districts. Some of the associate centers will serve one big district like Miami-Dade, and some centers serve multiple districts. The diagnostic part has to do with part of our role in the child find process in trying to find children and identify areas of need. We provide a lot of different services through learning, physical resources, and it's part of a statewide system. There are 5 functions at Fiddlers. We're going to highlight the child find function tonight. We also work on inclusion for our students with special needs. It's all focused on students with disabilities. We have a parent services component, lots of great things happening there, folks that are technology experts, and then we do lots of human resources development through our service area. Just to kind of give you a visual, a little bit of a visual of our service area, I've listed out our 6 counties that we serve through our Fiddlers Associate Center. And so we've got Alachua County, we think of Gainesville, we've got Inverness and Citrus County, Old Town, Cross City. I ended all of these with springs in the areas. That's why we're called Fiddler Springs. So you've probably been to some of these springs. I love Manatee Springs, for example. Who refers children to Fiddlers? We have referrals from a lot of different sources. Parents are a primary referral source. So they say, my child is struggling in a particular area. I always talk about the big 3. The walking, the talking, the toilet training, those are concerns in early childhood. We have child care centers and Early Learning Coalition, Head Start that refer children to us, pediatricians, specialists at Shands, centers, Department of Children and Families refer, Youth and Family Alternatives, and a lot of private therapists. There are some common concerns that are referral concerns. The primary one is speech and communication. The secondary one is behavior. My child is not behaving or socializing in the way that we would hope. Sometimes learning or cognitive concerns or self-care, physical conditions, sensory impairments. Now, how have the rates to Fiddlers for screenings, how have these changed over the years? And these are some eye-popping numbers. And just to kind of give you a sense of our service area, which I've got little check marks on the Florida map and a little listing over here for you so you can see those. Alachua County, a 321% increase in the last 5 years of referrals, 495% in Citrus County. Dixie County, 1,000% increase in referrals. Of course, it's a small county. Gilchrist County, 556, Levy County, 690. And there we are, 691% increase in 5 years. And I was thinking about, well, how do you wrap your head around that? Think about if your gas for your car, price went up almost 700% in the last 5 years. And so that's a pretty significant increase in those referrals. So there's our big pictures through the statistics. Here's a visual of it. You can see the referrals are increasing each year. We have an incomplete data set for 2017, but it looks like we're going to continue that trend up a little bit. What happens after children are referred to fiddlers? And that's where your Road Through Child Find will help. So you've got the referral that starts out, and then you've got a Child Find screening. And some children pass the screening. What that means is that it doesn't appear that they have a developmental delay. So they score higher than some cutoffs on those. Some children are referred to other agencies. Maybe younger children, there are some services available for children birth through 2, and some children are referred for a district evaluation. Okay, what ESE programs are available? And I'm going to hand this over to Ms. Fields in just a moment. Technically, any exceptional student education program that's available for any student K-12 is available for our preschool children, but the most common eligibilities are what's called developmentally delayed, and I'll explain that in just a moment, speech impaired, and language impaired. These 3 types of eligibilities account for about 93% of the children who are receiving preschool exceptional student education services in Marion County. And how is developmentally delayed? Sure.
Let's go back a couple of
Absolutely.
slides. One more, right here.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about this slide. Depending on the screening results from the students will wind up at an evaluation team. So I just want to give you a sense of who that is and how many days a week that is. We have usually 5 full team evaluations scheduled each month. And those days we have a psychologist, an educational diagnostician, a speech language pathologist, an occupational therapist, and a physical therapist. So all of those people are part of that team, and there are 5 days a month for those people. So think about the amount of work in that room with those people. We also have separate speech language pathologists that evaluate 3 to 4 days a week to help determine whether or not these students have needs beyond the screening results. So it's just a lot of people involved in dealing with the referrals once they come in from the screening.
Now, one thing that we have done at Fiddlers is we've tried to expand capacity on the screening end of things, but I know the district pretty much has the same number of folks that are trying to deal with that almost 700% increase in referrals for evaluations. The developmentally delayed law, it passed 25 plus years ago, and it was designed really to cast a broad net for children with possible developmental delays. And the thinking was that if we can address potential developmental problems early with children, then we can avoid future problems. And so that's good for the child, that's good for the parent, that's good for the budget if we're looking at the budget. So we want to catch those problems early and address that as early as possible. So they made it broad. So a child could be developmentally delayed in any one or more of these areas. So if a child is, I mentioned the big 3, toilet training and then some other things within adaptive behavior, that could be an area of qualification. Their thinking skills, their receptive expressive communication skills, their social skills, as well as their physical development. So that's the definition for developmentally delayed. So I'm going to hand this over to Ms. Fields.
Perfect. So in 2012, 99 students were identified as being eligible for services, and this graph kind of breaks down each of the areas of eligibility. The 2 areas we want to focus on are that dark navy blue, which is the developmentally delayed label, and then the yellow is the speech impaired, those students that are having trouble forming the words correctly. So as we go through our years, we look at 2013. This year we had 222 students identified. Still a large majority of those students are speech impaired students. And a smaller number are developmentally delayed. In 2014, you can see that piece of the pie getting bigger for developmentally delayed. 342 students in 2014 were identified as needing special education services, pre-K students. And the number of developmental delayed is increasing, speech language is matching it. 2015, you can see that piece of the pie is really big. 484 students were identified in 2015 as needing special education services, pre-K students. 2016, 420 students identified as needing services in the pre-K age range, and look at our percent of developmentally delayed. It's significant compared to the first 2012 where most of the students had speech impairments. In 2017, when we're talking just from January until now, we've identified already 67 students who have special needs that are pre-K age, and most of those students are speech impaired, but we know that's just a few months' time. So again, like we've mentioned, 46% of our students, when they're identified in the categories, are identified under that developmentally delayed label. The next would be speech impaired, then language impaired, and then we move down to smaller numbers. I think there's some misconception that many of the students that come through have, autism spectrum or some other thing, but that's only 2.5% of the students identified. And very minimal students identified as deaf or hard of hearing, having an intellectual disability, behavioral disability, or visually impaired. So let's look at this. Over the last 5 years, just in the developmental delay label, there are 756 students aged 3 through 5 who have been identified as students with special needs. Why is this important? Child find is required. We have to do that. Fiddlers uses designated grant funds for child find, but the referrals have increased significantly. And Fiddlers is adapting. Marion County needs to adapt as well. So, that means that we need to increase capacity for evaluations, making sure that we have more than just 5 days a month, or finding a way to make sure that these students can get evaluated in their area schools. So providing the correct training to teachers and staff members at the school so that evaluations can happen in a more timely manner. Because if 5 days fill up this month, it's going to be next month before you can get your evaluation in. So when you hear conversation about delay in evaluation, it could be that our 5 days are filled this month and we've got to go to the next month before we can get you in. So we do want to turn those timelines around much quicker than we have been able to do. And then we want to improve student outcomes. So the majority of these students are in self-contained pre-K ESE classrooms, and we really need to provide opportunity for these students who have developmental delays to be serviced in an inclusion setting, having examples from non-disabled peers, spending time in a pre-K in self-contained classroom with other students with disabilities. We don't have any role models. We typically then move on to kindergarten, possibly in another self-contained classroom, and we move on like that without having opportunity to be with our non-disabled peers. Anything else you want to add, Jim? Okay. Do you guys have any questions for us?
Ms. McCall?
Is there data on why there's so many more developmentally delayed children? I mean, I'm just shocked, and are we getting better at identifying, or are there some in... Listen,
The same question.
I just want to know why. I mean, what is it that is making these children delayed? Is it environment that they come from? Is that the largest? I'm just curious.
Yeah, philosophically, we can talk about what makes children a certain way. We're all kind of born with a range of potential, right? And where we kind of fall in that range of potential depends on those experiences. And particularly in early childhood, those early developmental stages are key. That's a question I've asked many times, is why. There are several possible reasons. I can't give you the data in terms of the factors specifically, but one is simply population increases. Another is public awareness in terms of the programs being available. poverty and trauma. You know, we think about the economy over the last several years. And if you talk to children, you hear, you know, children tell you things about what's going on at home. You hear words that parents say, you hear about people struggling with jobs and arguing. So you've got the effects of poverty, you've got trauma. I think, personally, and this is a Houston view, unreasonable demands in some preschool settings. We're really pushing for developmentally appropriate practices in Marion County, and I would just want to say a hallelujah for that. That is wonderful, because we have preschool programs that are pushing children to, you know, really adhere to a strict routine when they need to be playing and growing and learning and exploring and doing all those wonderful things that young children do. Of course, we're going to structure them, we're going to teach them. A lack of time to play, you know, is another one. One thing that we hear about sometimes is screen time. We've seen kind of that screen time, you know, a family, we were never blaming family, but the quality language experiences with family. I've heard it said in a book called 30 Million Words that parent language is the most valuable resource we have on the planet. And so we have to do everything that we can to encourage it. So I think there are a multitude of factors that are kind of a confluence that's leading to this increase in the referrals.
Fiddlers takes many child find calls from parents who have been kicked out of childcare facilities in our community, and not just one, but multiple. And it's possible that those students wind up in our pre-K programs because, again, that social emotional piece, if you're delayed in that area, you can be eligible for services. So, and I'd like to say that Dr. Mayer has been asking, where have all these calls come from? And the state database doesn't track that. We've actually been in contact with the University of Miami, Jen McBride has, because they don't track it, and why wouldn't they? They should. So they've asked to do that, but we did a quick tally of our anecdotal records. 175 calls this year came in from parents, 82 from private child care providers, 73 from community programs like Head Start, Hippie, those kinds of things. 71 came in from our Part C, those are the early steps, the babies, birth to two. We had 60 from pediatricians. We had 43 from private therapy providers. We had 38 from community organizations, DCF, the centers like that. 36 from our own VPK classrooms here in Marion County, that those kids also come through Child Find. 6 from the Early Learning Coalition, and then there were 44 where there were no anecdotal records on those things. But
So if we were seeing an increase and it was all from pediatricians, then we might be able to isolate something, or if it was all from parents. But it's wide scale referrals from a variety of sources. And if we can catch these children early, if we can make that impact early on, we can avoid so many problems in their young lives and for their families. And the outcomes long term, we're all looking for post-school outcomes, they're going to be so much better. So, do you have anything else?
I don't think so.
One of the things that I've always liked about Fiddlers is one thing is local, it's right down the street. Now, when I think in terms of the comparisons between the counties and things like that, I think we as a board need to know that we have an advantage by the Fiddlers being here in Reddick down there. So when you see some of these numbers, I look at some of them numbers being impacted by convenience, because we have people here that can, if they wanted to, they could drive down there, or they can immediately have some assistance. So I don't want people to think that we're so terrible, but I think we are in a position to take advantage of a facility that's here, because I've known people in different counties have some type of, well, they have problems sometimes because of the distance and things.
Accessing the services.
Right. So I want all of you to understand, when we see these things, we have an advantage simply because we're here, because you all are here, and for over the last, I don't know how long y'all been at it, 30 years, 20 years?
The project's been going for 40. I don't know how long in that particular site.
Okay, and
Collier Elementary School is where we're located.
right, and most people don't realize that in the other counties, but I do know when I was out at Dunella, and if I needed something, I could call Fiddlers, and they would have somebody over there. And this is some of the things that I don't think, when I hear these things, I'm just sitting here saying, guys, these are some of the reasons why the numbers are there, because we have better access to that.
And we, just so you know, we do go to the different counties, we provide services. We try to provide screenings as close to neighborhoods as we can get them. But logistically, that's difficult when you're dealing with these numbers of children. But it is an advantage, having it here in Marion County. Sure.
Mr. James, I'm the Child Find Specialist. I serve Marion County, Gilchrist County, and Citrus County. And I do disagree with you in a way, because I go to all my counties. I serve as, I chair all the interagency meetings. So at every interagency meeting in my counties, I meet with the Department of Health, Youth and Family Alternatives, DCF, pediatricians, the Early Learning Coalition, private daycares. I visit every pediatrician in my counties. I talk with them about Child Find. Today I was in Trenton all day screening children. I'll be in Trenton tomorrow screening children. But I do live here in Marion County. I do all the community events for all 3 of my counties. So I really don't think, because we're here in Marion County, that it affects the numbers that much. The referrals that come in are still coming from the same places in all 3 counties. And I think it's affected by the size of Marion County. It's our largest, where Gilchrist is very small. All of the screenings that are done there are very community-based, and everybody knows everyone else. So, like the children that are coming into those screenings, they've taught the parent and the grandparent, but I just want to let you know that I'm out there and talking with everyone. So.
Well, that's real nice that you're out there. What I do know, when I needed some assistance from Fiddlers.
Oh, no, I agree.
I picked up the phone and called
And we were right
Fiddlers.
here.
And Fiddlers sent somebody over immediately to help me when I was dealing with some ESE problems and things like that. So it do make a difference by us being here.
I'm not typically a prideful person, but let me brag about the network. There are 99 discretionary projects in Florida, 50 different fiscal agents. And they do surveys each year about the quality of services. Well, Fiddlers was number 1. So number 1 in terms of those services. But that's something that we're all about, helping children with special needs, children that are at risk, and we're very service oriented. So that's our role, and we appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this evening.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I believe this is a statewide trend.
Yes.
Yes, it is,
Can you
absolutely.
talk a little bit about that?
Yes, there was just an article published actually about Manatee County, and they've seen a 50% increase in their pre-K ESE identified students, and they've actually added 20+ pre-K classrooms in Manatee County because this has become a statewide issue, and we need more classrooms and more teachers to provide services to these young children.
Thank you. Okay. With there being no further discussion, we're going to move ahead and vote. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, and those that oppose, like sign.
I was looking for something, 'cause I've never had a problem. It's always been there for me.
The motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the following cash or tangible donations that have a total value of $30,225. $1,100 to Bellevue High School from Bellevue High School FFA alumni. $1,000 to Dr. N.H. Jones Elementary School from the School Board of Marion County, Florida. $2,000 to Forest High School from the Ocala Film Foundation via the Public Education Foundation. $1,125 to Greenway Elementary School from their business partner, Trinity Baptist Church, via the Public Education Foundation. $1,000 to Greenway Elementary School for the Robotics District Grant from the Public Education Foundation. $2,000 to Hammett L. Bowen Junior Elementary School from IBM. Chanot Violin valued at $5,000 to Hillcrest Public School from Betty Tlush. $1,000 to Howard Middle School from School Board of Marion County, Florida. $2,500 to Madison Street Academy from their business partner, Regions Bank, via the Public Education Foundation. Chemistry analyzer valued at $12,000 to Marion Technical College from the Ocala Family Medical Center. $1,500 to Osceola Middle School from Osceola Middle School PTO. Okay, may I have a motion in a second?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCall and seconded by Mr. James. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those that oppose, like sign. Did you say it last time? You want to say it? Okay, Mr. James, you want to thank him when I'm after? And the motion passed 5-0. Yeah?
I got it.
Okay. Mr. James, would you like to thank?
Again, I'd like to really thank the people that have contributed to our schools in so many different ways, not only monetary, but especially when they step up to the plate tonight. And when I look at the business partner we brought into the fold tonight, and then I look at our donations, and on behalf of all the students that are involved, I'd like to thank our business partners for what they do. And the people that are watching, this happened to us twice a month, and we just want to take the time to say thank you for a job well done. Did anybody get how much it was tonight? Did we?
Yes, it was $30,225.
And that's, for one night's work, that's pretty good.
Thank you, Mr. James. Okay. The next administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for Thursday, May 18th, 2017 at 9 a.m. The purpose of the work session is to discuss the 2017-2018 general insurance and to review health insurance options for 2018, as well as school start, stop times, and Early Learning Coalition school readiness contract. Okay, and we're going to move along with our board concerns. Ms. Stacy, we'll begin with you tonight.
I don't have a thing. I think we've had a great board meeting, and I've enjoyed it, and enjoyed the input, and thank everyone for all you do.
Mr. James?
One of the things I would like to say, I like the direction we're going, and I've said this a couple of times. But by the same token, I know that I'm hearing a lot that we're doing. I'm hearing a lot of things. But somewhere along the line, I need to look at a plan, and I need to look at a budget. Because all this stuff is wonderful. I'm telling you, it's wonderful. But somewhere along the line, somebody got to tell me how we're paying for all this stuff. And I know you're telling me how we're paying for it, but I need to see it. And I know you guys, maybe I missed it. And y'all and all I'm asking, it's Doc, I'm telling you, you're doing a tremendous job. I want to see I got to see some numbers here. And I know you guys are saying, okay, while we're doing all this neat stuff, but there's some numbers got to show up here somewhere in a plan. That's what it is. Okay, I'm through.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Boynton?
Okay, I have two things. And the one thing, I got this letter from the Kingdom of the Sun Conduit band that we've, can she talk a little about why we're not partner anymore? For Kingdom of the
That
Sun.
is an error in communication.
Okay, it was.
That was not under my directive, and we're going to correct that first thing
Okay,
tomorrow. Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
But
Thank you
just
for
because I
bringing it
had
up.
that so today, and I looked at it, I was like, oh my
Yes,
gosh.
ma'am. That was an error in communication. It will be
But I
fixed
did give
first
you an
thing.
email on a Catapult Academy, and I listened to them, and I gave it to every the school board, and I would like to have us to have a time to talk about it one more time. What the chair can do this.
Okay, we can do that. Ms. Flockketter, I wonder, can we place it on our, trying to think, maybe not our May 18th, but the following, what do we have?
June 8th.
For June 8th? Do we have a hefty schedule? I don't have it. What's it, or what?
No, it's not too bad.
Okay, so June 8th, okay. That'll be on our June 8th
Okay.
agenda.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. McCall?
I want to congratulate all of our graduates. We will not have another board meeting before you walk across that stage and flip that tassel. We are very, very proud of all of you. We wish you the very best of luck in whatever endeavors, whether you go to school, whether you're going into the military, whether you are choosing to go into the workforce. We hope that the education that you received in Marion County Public Schools has readied you for whatever is next. I also want to say, I know you're out of school next week. I know you're going to have a lot of fun. Be safe, be careful, and take care.
Thank you. Ms. Green? Ms. Blockheader? Dr. Mayer?
Thank you. We'd first like to say thank you to our officer on duty tonight, Officer Williams from the Ocala Police Department. Thanks for sitting in with us this evening and for your time tonight. And I also want to recognize the fact that you are our SRO at Vanguard High School. So not only tonight, but thank you for everything you do every day to keep our kids safe. We appreciate you so much. So thanks for your time tonight. I also received some information, and I would like to give congratulations to Ms. Boynton. Ms. Boynton next year will be the vice chair for the Multicultural and Diversity Committee of the Florida School Board Association. And the person that nominated Ms. Boynton did so because of your active involvement, just being a committee member. They said you attended every meeting and every call of that committee, and so they nominated you for vice chair. So thank you for that, and thank you for your commitment to not only our school board and our children, but the children in the state of Florida. That's huge. I know you'll represent us well. Thank you so much. As we talk every week, and we know that 99.999% of our students are making the right choices. Sometimes the ones who don't get all the media attention. But I wanted to share tonight one of those 99.999% students. The assistant principal at Crystal River High School emailed Coach Boss at Denellen High School. And you know there's, Mr. James, you would know personally, quite a rivalry between Denellen and Crystal River. But the assistant principal, Janet Tuggle, at Crystal River High School was so complimentary of our baseball players. She said that they were having a game. So last night as we exited your complex, player number 8, your right fielder, was shaking hands with several of our players. As he walked past me, I held out my hand because I just wanted to say, young man, you are one talented athlete. He and I spoke briefly as I learned he also serves as running back on your football team. Not a big surprise as he has his wheels, as they say. He was kind, respectful, and appreciative that I had complimented his abilities. Second, I turned to see a Denellen player take the time to walk over to shake hands and embrace one of our star senior athletes at the end of the game as he walks off the field for the last time as a high school athlete. So thank you to Assistant Principal Tuggle from Crystal River, and thank you, Coach Boss, and everyone at Denellen High School for helping to shape such fine young men. I'm sure you saw in the news recently that we had an issue at Marion Technical College with $23,000 worth of checks, which they were fraudulent checks, and so we were at a loss for those funds. I want to say thank you to the efforts of Teresa Boston Ellis and Dr. Ham. We have recovered all $23,000 of that money, so they pursued that. Yes, so thank you all. And then our books tonight. It was serendipitous what happened at tonight's meeting with the topics that we covered, because Sunday in the Ocala Star Banner, there was an editorial about our school district, and Mr. Rogers was quite complimentary to our efforts of addressing a problem which is huge, and that is the socioeconomic status of our students. One thing, though, that our administration is quite passionate about is that Simply because you are a child in poverty is not an excuse. We no longer take that as an excuse for school failure. And we will be moving forward with allowing our teachers to implement strategies that we know can reach students from poverty best. We know that we don't teach students who come to us from impoverished backgrounds the same way as we reach out to affluent students. So with that professional development that will be coming, with that ability for our teachers to do what they know is best for each child, we know that we will be making that difference that Mr. Rogers in his editorial said that we could. And again, Mr. Husted mentioned the 30 million word gap, and that phrase is based off of what we call seminal research. And I see Ms. Fields shaking her head. She knows, she's read the book too, by Hart and Reesley. It was published in the late 90s, and we still refer to it because it showed us that really regardless of your background, your socioeconomic background, it is that parental involvement from the very beginning and the language in the home that makes such a difference. So as we continue our outreach to our parents, to our families, through our own efforts here in the district, through our partnerships with United Way, with our public library systems, we continue to reach out to our parents and to share what a profound effect those first few years have in a child's life. And that leads into I said I would do it. Hello, Mrs. King. Mrs. King and I took a trip today to the Young Parent Program at Marion Technical College. And if you're not familiar with Marion Technical College's Young Parent Program, it is a dropout prevention program. It's an alternative program for our high school students and some middle school students who have become parents themselves. What it does is it keeps these kids in school. We have quite a successful program, and I see in the back row we have two of the teachers from that program with us. And right now they have 12 students enrolled. 4 of those students will be graduating high school from Westport and Vanguard this next week, correct, Ms. West? And without this program where they can bring their babies with them to school, we don't think that we could have kept them in class. I know you're going to share some as well, but when we look at the fact that these young ladies, and we have a young man who's going to be coming next year to the program along with the mother of his child, they're coming together. When we can sit back and we may choose to judge, or we may say that these young people chose life for their children and that they have chose to stay in school and to do the path of success for both themselves and their children. And I think that that is effort well spent, Ms. West and your team, and I think it is a great use of our school funds to give hope to these students and their children. Ms. King.
Okay.
She dared me to do the phone, by the way.
Like she needs to be dared. But yeah, today I'm just gonna piggyback off what Dr. Meyer was saying. Today, when we went up to NTC and visited with the young moms and their children, it is a worthwhile dropout prevention program. These young ladies, and I guess eventually one man, they will not skip a beat, except for maybe 2 weeks after their children are born. And there was, there's just infants in there to the toddlers. And it was a wonderful experience. These young ladies will, they take their 6 credit courses when they're in there. And usually they'll try to stay a semester. I think they could stay up to a year if need be. Their buses will pick them up from their home-based school and then provide that transportation back and forth. And if you get any time at all, just go in there and visit. It was just really nice. And those babies, William's my buddy. He was just, it was adorable. And who knows, maybe one day those women or men, they might be superintendent or school board member one day. You never know.
I think little Lorenzo might be, don't you think?
Lorenzo,
He
yeah.
was running that nursery today.
He was. Oh, that was good. Okay, I'm just gonna talk about some other things that most of us have been doing. Last week, we did attend the National Day of Prayer at the square. Meadowbrook Church happened to be there the hour that we were there, and they just said a beautiful prayer over our superintendent, the school board members, every student, and they even had students that would come up and they prayed for each other, and it was just a nice day, and I'm grateful for that. Also, Dr. Mara and I yesterday, we went to the coalition in Orlando. We had, actually, what was it, Tied Together, I believe?
Yes.
Tied Together was a interesting, I think, a very good program, and I think you may have hit on it some, Ms. McCall, last week, maybe Legacy. But anyways, a gentleman by the name Glenn, I don't have it in front of me, I think Outlaw. He has started a program, and what it is they teach the boys how to tie their ties and shake hands and make eye contact. And all it is just one period, for one day, short, sweet, and simple. But there was a lot of discussion on how it's just teaching those boys, just simple soft skills that we've been talking about. Also, last week, I attended the MTI with Mr. Fianello and Dr. Mayer were there, the Career Academy. It was the first time this event was ever held. It was a packed house. It was really good. It was organized, it was informational, so that's exciting. Also, I attended Ocala Springs with the veterans, the Flag Day, and it was quite entertaining because we had our own Colonel Dr. Ham. He was Colonel that day, and Tony Burke teach our students about the significance of the American flag. But they even gave some good history lessons in there, and it was just a really good program, and I would like to see that be promoted into other parts of our school, because again, it didn't take very long, but they talked about what the colors mean and the stars, and the students were engaged. And finally, I will just end, we know we're getting ready to be busy with our graduations. I want to tell our seniors, congratulations and best luck. And as most of us up here say, after you're done with college, come back to Ocala. So we'll just end with that. Thank you. Before addressing expulsion matters, I wish to acknowledge that board members have received the alternative placement list for students through April 21st, 2017. Ms. Flockheader, are there any parents who have submitted a timely request to speak on their child's disciplinary matter?
Actually, we have a child that would like to speak after our speaker addresses the board off the air.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of students JD 17-108, JD 17-109-E, and JD 17-110 with educational services through the entire 2017-2018 school year?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCall, seconded by Mr. James. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those that oppose, like sign. And the motion passed 5-0. This concludes the televised portion of our meeting, as we have a request to address the board off air. Okay. And